I just returned from a recent trip to my hometown in West Virginia to find that I had two CGC boxes waiting on me. One is from a signature signing event, while the other is a blue label order of a bunch of Dave Stevens books. So stay tuned as we open up these boxes to find out how I did. Welcome back, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and today I've got a special episode for you. I've got a dual CGC unboxing for you. I've got two orders that came in while I was on a recent trip to my hometown in West Virginia. Thank God my wife was here to pick them up while I was away, but they came in, they're here, they're safe. I don't know what the grades are, but one is a signing at a signature signing event. It's only one book. But the other one is a bunch of Dave Stevens books, and I can't wait to get into that one and see how I did. I'm very nervous about that. I thought they were some really good books, but we'll see. We'll see if we got a good grader or a hard grader. I don't know. But we're going to open up both of these boxes and get into it. But before I begin, definitely hit that like, slap the subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any of the content that I put out each and every week, Mondays and Fridays at 10 a.m. All right, guys, sit back, buckle up. Let's find out how I did. I'm going to go find the knife.
5 minutes later.
All right, guys, so let's start with the single book that I sent into the signature signing event. Now, this book right here is not a big book. It's not a key, but for me, it was one of the two covers of the year 2 years ago. And what's funny is since that time, the other cover of the year, I wish I should have pulled it out to show you. I actually got that one signed as well. And what's funny is my two favorite covers from that year, from 2 years ago, it's of the same character. And I'm a fan of the artist. And trust me, this book right here probably was not signed a lot. There were definitely some Spider-Man covers that I'm sure he signed a ton of. But this cover right here, I absolutely loved it. I've talked about it on the channel multiple times because what I did was I sent in my graded copy. It was already graded, 9.8, and I sent it in to get signed by this artist. And I'm hoping that it retains the grade, obviously, but there should be a signature on that same book. And as I said, I hope I kept the grade. So let's get into this and find out how I did. I've got the knife. Let's cut it open. Now, again, guys, when you get only one or two, maybe three books back, you get these boxes. They're very small. They're these literature style boxes. I love these things. And whenever I send out my CGC orders, when I sell something on eBay, especially I use them especially when I send them overseas because of how sturdy they are. These are the boxes I like to use. Now, when I send domestically, I do have boxes that are exactly the same ones that Heritage Auction uses, and they do pretty good too. But with them going overseas and handled even more, and it's going to take longer to get there, I definitely use these literature style boxes. So let's get the knife. Let's cut into it. Let's see how I did. All right, so we've opened up the box, and there you see it's bubble wrapped. You've got cardboard on either side, and yes, and as always, you've got the protective rubber band holding it in right there. All right, let's get rid of the bubble wrap. And we're taking off the rubber band, and I still have the boards on here. Let me see if I can position this so I don't see the grade too fast. Yep, there we go. I think I've got it. I've got it situated. All right, let's get rid of the cardboard and the plastic bag and the invoice that's there too. All right, guys. Let me show you the book. It is Heroes Return #1. This is actually from 2021. I was thinking 22, but it was from 21. 2021, two of my favorite covers were this one right here by Patrick Gleason. And that's who I sent this in to get signed by. And the other cover was of the same character. It's Power Princess from the Squadron Supreme. And the other one was, I think it was part of this Heroes Return storyline, and it was an art germ cover that I absolutely fell in love with. And those were my two favorite covers of the year. This one I especially liked. It reminded me a lot of that Fantastic Four 249 John Byrne with Gladiator holding Ben Grimm above his shoulders. And it just something about that struck me. You can really feel the weight of Captain America there on her shoulders. There's something about this I really liked. And yeah, I didn't send in one of the Webhead Spider-Man 55s for Patrick Gleason. He was part of a larger group doing a signing. He was the only one that I was really interested in, though, in that group. In fact, I can't even remember who else was in there. But I sent it in and we got the signature. I'll have to look there. I can't see it too well right now. I'm sure it's there someplace. But let's just get the grade first and find out if we kept my 9.8. There we go. Woo! Kept that 9.8. Let's take a quick look at this. Oh, it's the reason I couldn't see it. There it is. It's a little hard to see. You can see the Patrick real well, but it's right here in gold. Patrick Gleason right below the shield. Yeah, I'd have to say that it's probably not the best autograph. I mean, gold on this kind of brown background kind of doesn't pop quite as well. But as I said, this right here is a PC book all the way. This has absolutely probably no value out there to anybody else, but I love this book. I love this piece of artwork. This is the kind of artwork that makes me itch to get back in and start doodling and start sketching again. I love this right here. This really just struck me. I don't know why, but I absolutely loved it. And so far, we're off to a good start. I kept that 9.8. Couldn't be happier at this point. So far today, we are doing really good. So stay tuned for a second, and I'll clean up, and we'll get ready and do the Dave Stevens books in the next box. So hold on for 1 second. All right, guys, I'm back. I've got the other box right here. I have got, I believe, 9 books in here, 8 of which are Dave Stevens classic covers. You're going to recognize every one of these. The 9th book, and I'm sitting here trying to remember what the 9th book was. It was not a Dave Stevens book, but I remember when I sent in a lot of these orders, and in fact, I've got more sitting there that are going to be coming in over the next week or so. And I ended up doing a lot of custom labels on some of these. And I didn't do anything on Dave Stevens, but I remember I was trying to divide these orders out, and I ended up putting in, I think it's a DC, I think it's a Batman comic. I cannot recall what it is, though. But I know I have one non-Dave Stevens in here, too. We'll find out what it was. Right now, I cannot even recall what it was. And I've been real good. I kept checking back to see when these things were shipped. I did not look at the grade to find out how I did on this. It makes me very nervous. Some of these books, if they grade out as high as I think they could have jumped up into a higher price range. But I submitted all of these as moderns under $400. And I hope that if some of these, if they didn't get those 9.8s, yeah, they're not going to be worth more than $400. Then it'd fit perfectly. I don't know how much allowance CGC does when they grade something and then they realize, oh, wow, that 9.8 is actually a $600 book. I don't know where the cutoff really is. I don't know how strict they really are on these things. I did have an order that's not come in next week. One of my Spider-Man books that I sent in, they actually came back and they charged me the high value fee, well, the rest of the high value fee for one of those books. And that's a really good sign that I undergraded whatever I had there, because it definitely jumped up into the high value range. And I'm just hoping that there's some allowance in here to allow me to get some really good grades and not have to pay that. And since I didn't pay that high value fee, I hope that that's not an indicator of disappointment here. But we're going to find out. Let's go ahead and get the knife and open these up. And I will probably fast forward through some of this as I open it up. All right, well, that was actually quicker than I thought, but here we go. We got the box here. Let me see if I can show it to you. And I've got the big cardboard right up there. That big, thick, I don't know, what do you call that kind of, this padding, corrugated type of padding that they put in here. I don't know what they call it, but I actually hang on to that because I reuse that in some of my orders. All right, we got an ad for Comic Link, and here are all the books right there. And I'm going to look away because as I do this, I do not want to see what the grades are. And so I'm not going to see what order they are. I am literally going to take these out one at a time and make sure they're facing me. Let's turn them away so I don't see anything. And I don't even know what I'm starting with, but it definitely is a Dave Stevens book right here. Guys, this is my first real Blue Label order and probably closer to a year and a half at this point. I just have not, I've been doing a lot of signature signing events. I have not done a Blue Label straight up for a long time, and this is my first foray back into it. I hope they're not disappointed. But here we go with the first Dave Stevens book. It is Vanguard Illustrated #2. This is from Pacific Comics. And let's see how we did. Oh! That's the way to start. That's the way to start. We start with a 9.8. Now, even in a 9.8, and I don't have the values up there in front of me. I didn't have that all prepped and everything. 9.8s I know don't at this point do not go over $400. So this was one that definitely fell into that modern range no matter what. So that is the way to start. Oh, thank God. Because I was really nervous when I sent these in. I always think I do a really good job, but I start second guessing myself, and a couple of recent orders that I've sent in for some signature signing books, like especially that Wolverine #1 that dropped down to a 9.4, I felt it was at least a 9.6, not a 9.8. I gave them that, but I start questioning what I can do to help improve these books, and I worry about reversion, things like that. But this was a really nice book. There really wasn't a lot to do in this book. What I did was I gave it a nice press, but I also went over the spine on the front and the back with a tack iron lightly just to make sure there were no spine ticks of any sort. But wow, that's a great start right there, guys. I love that yellow cover. My buddy from Moneyball Comics actually just did a video where he got back another copy of Vanguard Illustrated #2 as a 9.8. I know he was super stoked about that. So, man, this is my first Dave Stevens book that I've ever gotten graded, and couldn't start off better, starting with that 9.8. All right, let's just hope our luck continues. And looking away, and I don't want to see what it is. Oh, this is a good book. This is a good one. We've got DN Agents, #24. You've got this Dave Stevens cover of Rainbow right there. And this is also from Eclipse. This is from Eclipse Comics. And this is actually a pretty good book. And I know there's some value at the slightly lower grades, whereas some of these actually, when you get to a 9.6, they really drop off a lot. I know that from when I submitted. I did not do a pre-screen. I felt pretty good about this. But let's go ahead and see how I did. Oh, that one's tough, guys. Yeah, that's really tough. I felt like all of these were 9.8 candidates. I don't know. Now, I didn't pay a lot for this, so I didn't have a big investment into this book, but man, that's actually very disappointing right there. To a point where I'll really look this book over again now that I've gotten it graded. And see, I doubt that there's going to be any notes. Normally, I don't see even notes until you get down into the closer to 9.0 sometimes. And I doubt that I'm going to have notes on that. But that's actually really disappointing. Oh, we got white pages though, right? But I felt like this is definitely better than a 9.4. We will look into that. All right. Continuing on with the next one. And it's another Eclipse comic, and we've got Crossfire, #12, and you got this great Marilyn Monroe cover. And let's see how we did on this one. Ooh, back on track. Back on track. 9.8. Man, that is super right there. Again, this book will not go over $400, I don't think, as a 9.8. Now, that DN Agents here, that right there, if I'd gotten a 9.8, would have went over the $400. But This right here definitely wouldn't, but it's still a real, this is one of the more popular books with Marilyn Monroe on there and Crossfire. Awesome. Awesome. Let's take a quick look. Yeah, that's really good. Not bad. Not bad, guys. Let's keep this train rolling. Let's see if we can keep it going. All right, so we've had two of the characters. Let's put them together this time for Crossfire and Rainbow number 4. You've got this Elvis cover right here. Now, this one is not as valuable as the others. I know this one drops down a little bit, even at 9.8. This is one of those risky ones. If I don't get that 9.8, it really falls off. So let's give it a shot. Let's see how we did on this one. Yeah! There we go. There we go. There we go. Oh, my God. You can see how nervous I am. I mean, I know some people out there think that guys like us, when we do these CGC unboxings, a lot of people look at the grades. If I look at the grade, I'm going to tell you I looked at the grade. And usually it's by mistake, not because I'm looking and curious. Now, I am curious, but I'm not looking to find out. I do it by mistake. I'm always hitting the shipping, and sometimes I'll have to figure out, oh, I hit the wrong button sometimes. But I definitely didn't look at these ahead of time. White pages, 9.8. I mean, this is 1986, guys. I mean, this paper, a little bit thicker of a cardstock, cover stock. And I know that the spine splitting on books like that, especially this old, back in the day, I mean, they can split up pretty good, but these books look really good. Even that one book that got the 9.4, I still think, yeah, that book may go back in. If I take it back, if I look at it really close and I find something, I may leave it. If I don't find anything, I may submit that one back in. All right, guys, one of my all-time favorite Dave Stevens covers. I remember this from college back in 1980. I want to say 86, 87, somewhere in that range. I saw this illustration. I'm not even sure where, but my guess is it was either an Amazing Heroes or, what was it? Comics Journal. One of those publications, comics publications, I saw this illustration, and I did a recreation of this in my production class. Now, when I say production, I was a graphic design student. I was art student, and early on, we took a mechanical art class, and this was before we had computers. I shouldn't say computers. Before we had Macintosh, and we were doing everything on the computer. These are the days when you had to have your type set, and then you would paste up your mechanical ads. I mean, and cut everything apart and paste everything together. And one of those early projects was to do a full calendar. You do the illustration, because we were art students, not just graphic design students, but you do a piece of artwork and match it up with your birth month. Well, my birth month is October, and I saw this illustration from Dave Stevens, and I had to recreate it. And it's funny, that project, I will talk about it to this day. That was the project that I knew that I had the skills to be this kind of graphic designer I wanted to be, because it was very difficult to do all of the work by pen and ink, and then pasting up all the numbers, and then, of course, doing the illustration. But this is it right here. Seduction of the Innocent 3D, number 1 here. And just an awesome cover. I thought this was a really good copy. I had a couple of these, and I submitted what I thought was the better of the two. And I'm hoping for it here, guys. I'm really hoping for it. Let's see what we did. Yeah! Yes! Yes, that is awesome. And I will tell you why I didn't send in the other copies. Because I felt like this was a 9.8, and I did not send in the other copy because there was a little white, it wasn't really a tick, it looked more like a crease that broke color barely right up here at the top corner. And I did not want to get into the business of having the grade 2 books side by side. I felt like if one was better, yeah, that might get the 9.8, but the other one would definitely, well, if that's a 9.8, this is definitely not a 9.8. So we're going to give that a lower grade. Those that I held back, I will probably send in a separate order at some point, and maybe without the comparison, they will be judged better. But, oh man, I can't believe I got this. This is awesome. I want to say I got this book from the guys at TBC Comics down in Charleston, Maryland. I want to say this copy right here was the one that I picked up off of one of their Whatnot shows, and they had a bunch of these that were uncirculated, and they were sending in a ton of copies of not just this book, but a lot of Dave Stevens books that were uncirculated, and they were sending them in, getting 9.8s like crazy. And I think this came from this batch. And what's funny is I'm sitting here with the light like this right here, and I can literally see a little tick right there. Just the most minor. It's only because you're catching the light, but it's not color breaking or anything. But yeah, look at that. 9.8, guys. 9.8. Woo! All right. What do we got left? I'm looking here. I've got 4 books left. 3 of which would still be Dave Stevens. So I said the last one was one of my favorites. Well, so is this. Airboy number 5. Also Eclipse Comics. You got Valkyrie right there. And just absolutely love this cover. In fact, I've got a signed copy of this but from Chuck Dixon, who was writing Airboy. And got that back in, I want to say 92 or 93. And he was so excited somebody actually brought him an Airboy book. I think he was doing Batman back in the day. Maybe that's what people were bringing, but I brought him Airboy. So, hold my breath. Let's see how we did. Oh, yeah. Wow. And the same goes for this too. I had another copy of this that I felt was slightly inferior to this right here. I felt like it would have suffered side by side in comparison. That's why I didn't bring it. I didn't put it in there. But White Pages from 1986. Oh man, that is, just look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? 9.8s, guys. Man, that is really good. And yeah, let's just hope we finish up strong here. All right. Actually, I'm going to put this one back. I just found the DC book. And it's actually a pretty big book. And I don't think it's going to hit a 9.8. It is a Batman book, but we'll get back to it. So, this one here, another Dave Stevens. We got Alien Worlds, number 4. And you've got this beautiful cover here, very reminiscent of Frank Frazetta. And this is from Pacific Comics as well. And let's see how we did. Ooh, yeah, hitting it again. Awesome. This is one of those that you kind of have to have that 9.8 to have the real value. You're still pretty okay with it with a 9.6, but people are selling these Dave Stevens books. They know how popular they are, so they're raising the prices on the raws. So if you buy it, you think you're going to get that 9.8, and all of a sudden you get a 9.6, and it drops that value down. Well, here's the value now coming down to here, and the dealers know that these are very popular, so they're raising the prices on the raws, and there's your margin. Instead, now you're back up here at 9.8, so got some margin in there if I decide to sell this right here. But oh my God, another 9.8, absolutely beautiful. You guys will have to let me know, did Dave Stevens color these himself too, or was this done by somebody else? I didn't bother to look that up. Yeah, it doesn't really say. It just says Dave Stevens. I wonder if he did the coloring on there. That's something I really don't know. All right. One more Dave Stevens book, and then we'll do that one Batman book I've got. And this one right here, I felt like was a 9.8. In fact, I thought it was the best book of the lot. And we'll see. That's probably going to mean that it's going to be a fail on my part. But it is Betty Page Comics number 1. Got this beautiful cover right there. And I felt like this was a spectacular copy. I'm holding my breath again. Yes! Guys, we got that 9.8 on this one too. Almost 100% on all the Dave Stevens covers except for that DNA Agents number 24. And I'm telling you, like I said, if I go back and I don't find anything that sticks out, I'm going to resubmit that book because I think it was a 9.8. Luckily, I didn't put a lot of money into that book when I bought it. I remember exactly where I bought it. It was from the Secret Lair down in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I didn't pay a lot for it. In fact, I remember I got a good deal on it at the store. I just felt like it was an extraordinary copy, not a 9.4. But every one of these, except for that one, to this point, have proven out to be, I judged these correctly. I couldn't believe that. I mean, I'm really nervous on this. And as I said, I sent in a lot of orders a couple weeks ago, and these things were... When I got the notification on the Spider-Man that it jumped up in value and they were charging me more, and I didn't hear anything about this particular order, that really made me very worried, because some of these can go over that $400 price range, but by how much? And again, I question, where does CGC draw that line into where they're going to upcharge you? Does it have to be at a significant amount? I mean, if they look it up and it's a $405 value, are they going to upcharge you with that? Or is it a much greater difference where they will upcharge you? I don't know. You guys will have to let me know. I'm asking a lot of questions. You guys have got to let me know in the comment section. But we got one book left. One book. And this was a pretty big book. I remember when I picked it up, it was one of only 2 comics I picked up that particular day. And what at a local comic book con. And what's funny is the other book was the Spider-Man that just got upgraded to high value that I was talking about. And I bought both of these books, and because I got such a good deal on this book from, again, this book right here is coming from TBC Comics from Crofton, Maryland. They had set up at this show, and I picked it up, and he gave me such a good deal that I actually had enough cash on me to buy that Spider-Man book. And that is a book I may tell you at the end what it is, but let's see what I picked up from TBC Comics. It is Batman Beyond #1. And I kept this book a long time. It's been a while since I ended up sending this. I mean, I sent this in about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. It didn't take long at all to get these things graded. But I picked this up a while ago. It took me a while to get it into the shop to work on it and everything. And so it stayed in the bag and board. I didn't really give it a once over when I got home. Maybe that's a lesson. Maybe I really should take a look at these closer. Actually, you may take a look at the show a lot closer, because I thought this book looked fantastic at the show. But once I got it home, once I really started taking a closer look, it had a faint dog ear down here in this little black corner right there. And I don't remember any other defects, but that right there worries me a lot. It wasn't a big crease, but there is a little bit of color break right there. So let's see. Let's see how we did. 9.4. That's honestly, with that little dog ear down there, that's kind of what I kind of expected. It's disappointing only in that I should have had this. I should have looked at it better at the show. I don't know if I would have passed on it at the time. And I'll have to look up and see what the values are on 9.4. This is a book I'm happy to have in the PC for right now. But honestly, this is a book that I probably will look to move on from and sell this and then look for a better copy down the road. But not bad. It's kind of what I expected, but I can't help but be a little disappointed that we didn't at least maybe get that 9.6 again. But I don't think this was judged too harshly. I think that DNA Agents was judged maybe a little too harshly, but this one I know why that got knocked down a little bit. But not bad at all. But pretty good order overall. 2 little disappointments. Let's put something up here. Let's put this back up here. And I'm looking at everything I sent here. And you know what? I realized that one of the books that I did not send in on this order, I didn't realize it at the time. I did not send in one of the Johnny Quest covers. I've got a couple of those, and I thought I had sent in one of those too, but it looks like I held those back. Maybe they had a little bit of damage where I didn't think they were going to grade out as high as I thought either. But overall, fantastic order. We will revisit DNA Agents, and I will take a look at the values on that Batman Beyond, and I will probably list that in my eBay store. In fact, I will probably list a couple of these, because only a few of these like this I may want to keep in my PC. But everything I ever have on my channel, a lot of times I'll keep them on PC, but then I will move on from them as well. There's other things that I might be interested in. So if you guys are ever interested on anything in the channel, even if I'm not putting it up for sale right now, definitely reach out to me at collectorauctions@yahoo.com or DM me on my Instagram account. And if you want to see what I currently have listed in my eBay store or on my Shortbox page, just check out the links in the description below. But guys, that is it for today. Thank you for joining me. Definitely leave me a comment about everything that I picked up today. What do you think about the books? And what do you think I should do about that DNA agents? Do you think I should crack it open and resubmit it? That's kind of what I'm thinking. So that's probably what I'm going to do. But guys, I'm out of here. You guys have a great day. Thank you for joining me. And remember, every comic has a story.